founder chairperson, Early Child Development Forum. And today I'm here to speak about early childhood education, its importance and benefits. And now let me share my screen. So today I'm going to talk about early childhood education, and when we are, I'll just scroll to the next screen. I think there's a difficulty. Just let me share it again. There is a slight problem. Right. So before I start off, let me tell you all a bit about myself. I've been into the domain of early childhood education since almost 2 decades. And I've been running a preschool chain by the name Tender Petals, which has its centers in Northeast India and in North India. And I've been training in TIS for the past 4 years. And here in TIS, I was teaching early child development and child rights, two subjects which are very, very close to my heart, because I've been working with children since I was 22. And this has been a very, very wonderful journey so far. And and then we came up with the Early Child Development Forum, and we've been doing a lot of activities here and also working with children from the marginalized section who are not fortunate enough to get the best of early childhood care and education. So coming to the subject that I would be talking about today, the topics that I'll be covering are the importance of the early years, how the brain develops in the early years, what is early childhood education and what is the purpose, outcome of early childhood education upon a child's future, and the benefits. So welcome into the world of ECE. Well, let us look into what happens in the early years. So there's so many parents, who actually do not have a fair idea about what are the developmental milestones and different things that are happening to their own children when they are younger, and they are kind of confused about what is the child learning in school and what they are doing in these early years. So when we talk about the early years, let me go back to the first 8 years of a child's life, which are very, very critically important for all areas of learning and development. And in these first few years, more than 1 million neural connections are formed, and in every second. And these connections actually build up the brain architecture. So when we talk about the brain architecture, it's the foundation upon which the later learning and behavior and health or future success of a child depends. So early experiences are extremely important in shaping how successful a child is in the later life. And we have seen that in the studies that children who have quality early childhood experiences, including attending a quality early childhood center or early childhood program, are more likely to graduate to high school. They're more likely to be happy and more positive individuals and more successful in their later lives. So when we're looking at this entire process, let me tell you about it from the pre-birth period. So an account of basically, when we talk about the brain development, the brain architecture, when we come into it, it is incomplete if we do not refer to the prenatal period, the pre-birth period of a child. So basically, brain development starts probably 2 weeks after a child is conceived, and it continues into young adulthood. So most of the brain development in the prenatal period is largely dependent on the genetic factors, and it's controlled by genetics. And although, again, we can see that environment plays a very clear role here, because like when we talk about nutrition, what is a mother eating, when the child is in her womb? Are there any toxins? The mindset of the mother at that point of time, what is the environment she is living in? A positive environment, a negative environment. So all of these also work towards, how a child's brain develops. Therefore, it can be said that much of the brain development that occurs postnatally is experience dependent and is defined by gene and environment interactions. So basically, when we look into that period, the prenatal period, so there's a lot of genes, and also the experiences are involved in building up the brain architecture. So now, when a child is born, the brain develops, and like I already said, that there are 1 million neural connections that keeps forming in every every hour, every day in a child's life till the child progresses to about 8 years. And generally, when we say that a brain, talk about brain development, it actually goes into, it's a long-term process, the brain development process. But then there are certain things that we do not learn in the later life, So these things are learned in the earlier stages of one's life. And that is why we call it the bedrock of what happens to that child when he or she grows up to become an individual. So higher level functions basically depend upon the lower level functions. So, for example, if when I talk about higher level functions and the lower level functions, when a child is born in the first year of a child's life, the infant learns to discriminate among sounds, that are specific to the language they have been exposed to in the particular environment, right? And before the time of 6 months, this infant can discriminate sound among different languages. They can just discriminate those sounds. But then, as they are growing, the brain starts to actually they start to discriminate sound of the native language, like the language we use. In India, we call the mother ma, or the father papa. So that they start to discriminate, and then it starts narrowing those perceptual sensitivity, narrowing down the language into their minds, and they start understanding. So this perceptual sensitivity leads to the development of language skills in the in later life. So even if we are talking about general simple skill like pincer grip, so a child to have a good pincer grip, we make them do a lot of activities where their fine motors are developed, their the smaller muscles, they come into play, the body, the eye and hand coordination starts happening. So all this again translates into how the child is able to maneuver a pencil, or how they are doing other things, whether lifting something or a thing. So it actually translates to the higher level functions, which again is used, they come up in the later life. So similarly, for healthy development of brain circuits, the individual needs to have healthy experiences, the lack of which may result in miswiring of the brain circuits. So generally, we see that children who are institutionalized, in most cases, they're not sometimes exposed to a positive environment and a good environment, or an enriching environment, and definitely then they start showing signs of stunted and delayed brain activity, or the brain function. So that is also evident. So in these years, it's so important that the child gets the best experiences, the best exposure, and they are exposed to a wonderful environment where they start to learn, where they start to love learning, and where they start to explore and access the outcomes. So coming to the next slide, how the birth to 7 years, or say 8 years, are so effective or so crucial in a child's life. So here there is a research that says that 85% of who you are, your intelligence, your personality, your social skills, is developed by age 7. So in the early years, we need to give our children an enriched environment. Now, an enriched environment is also referred to as a prepared environment for the child. So what actually comes within an enriched environment? First thing is the steady environment support. For a child, we need a family. The child needs a family support. When we talk about a complete family with the father, the mother, and a very functional family with a lot of love and a lot of warmth in it, that gives the child a very, very calm feeling, or probably some sort of confidence. The siblings and they all together, they have that support system, which is so important for children in the early years. Then comes a nutritious diet. So when we talk about nutrition, it is also it starts to play its role even before a child is born. That is why the mother intakes very good food while she's carrying a child, and this nutrition in the diet and all plays a very, very vital role in a child's life, in the growth of the brain, in the growth and development of the child bodily. So this is another very important part. Then we need to see that children are exposed to to activities that stimulates all their senses. So basically the child gets involved in a lot of activities, which may be solving puzzles, it may be just play, it can be just going out and getting certain things, collecting, I mean anything that has relation to all your sense organs, something to smell, something that smells nice or not so nice. So it is basically we need to stimulate their senses at all the times, so that they start getting those perceptions. So when we talk about stimulating senses, if I go back to our you know olden texts, it is like uh, uh, you know um, when um, uh, if we talk about Dronacharya, they used to, train the children, the son of kings, and everybody used to come to these gurukuls, and they used to learn a lot of things, and that used to kind of, stimulate the senses. And they had these lot of exercises where they would just tie their hair and try to understand the sound and all of it. So these are such important things. A child's environment needs to be very, very enjoyable. So we need to put them in an environment which is very, very congenial for their growth, very congenial for getting them in the right tone. And then we can talk about allowing social interaction. So always children need to be social, human being, the whole humankind. We are a race. We are basically we are all social, and in order to teach peer into relationship, in order to kind of get the child into that mode, they need to interact. So we should never let our children stop interacting, or always encourage them to interact. And even in the early years, we should not restrict them to gadgets and all of that. Instead, they should be playing with their friends. They should be having a good conversation. And it's like that interaction is so very important for a child's life. Giving them scope to explore and assess outcomes. So this no word should be out of our dictionary when a child is small. And so often we use no when we are, kind of minding the child that don't do this, don't do that. So the child actually, if we stop them from exploring, if we stop them from, understanding what is this and assessing the outcome, we kind of stunt their development, their inquisitiveness. So it is so important that children stay inquisitive, because these whys are the most important things. When they are inquisitive and when there is enthusiasm, we can do anything in this life. So again, the scope of exploring and assessing outcome is important. And so in the preschools, we have a lot of activities where the child actually explore. Giving the freedom of choice. Again, this is very important, because many a times I would say parents stop children, and even teachers do not allow the children this freedom of choice to do things something or do things on their own. Like I've been seeing in schools where if a child tends to color a tree in a different color, the teacher always tells them, no, this is not the right way, don't do it in this way, do it according to this. So basically, if we are not giving them the freedom, it gets difficult. And and this actually kind of stops them from developing that independence. So I'm coming to the next point, which is allowing the child to act independently. So if we are not giving them the freedom, we are not also allowing the child to act independently. So when we are very controlling, when the parents are very controlling, if the educators or the facilitators are very controlling, the child cannot express, and they do not grow that, develop that confidence in life. And then without the confidence, without freedom of choice, or the ability to make a decision, they would never be good decision makers even in their later lives. So it is very, very important. A hygienic environment with appropriate furniture, again, another important thing. Like, uh, every child has to have a very uh, clean and hygienic environment, including, the kind of food they are taking. It should be good food, it should not be junk, and they have to be in a place where the furniture is appropriate. So generally, because I'm talking in terms of early childhood education, so when I'm putting out these points, it's on those lines where in a preschool we have appropriate furniture for children, mats, the beds, small table and chairs which are suitable for their age, and then they kind of uh, they interact in that kind of an environment which is made up for them, which where they feel comfortable. And just imagine a child sitting on uh, a chair where I am sitting, so they're not comfortable. So we have to allow them that kind of an environment where they feel comfortable, where they feel comfortable to explore, where they have the freedom of choice, and where they are able to act independently. And then when we talk about an enriched environment, we are talking about an interested adult in the child. So who is an interested adult? At home, generally, it's the parent, the mother who is looking after the child, or in school, it is a facilitator who is guiding the child, to understand, to explore, and then to, kind of learn new things. So preschools design the curriculum in such a manner that children are provided with maximum and diverse ways to explore and access outcomes that enable them to grow in a holistic manner. Like I already said, coming to the birth to 7 years, the crucial period of a child's life, the skills that are developed around this time are the language skills, the literacy, speaking, listening, identification, vocabulary, expression, reading and writing. These are a few that I have noted. And then the cognitive skills, where there is a lot of problem solving involved, understanding concepts. And problem solving is so important in life because it's about logical thinking. It's about thinking in a manner where we can come out of a problem. So when we are in a preschool environment, we give these children a lot of small problems which they think through and they kind of solve. So if I would say one small example, when we give these shapes, sorters and all of that, and we tell them that just take out the triangles from all the shapes that we have given you, and they sort it out. So that is also because we give them a problem, and when they are doing small projects, even that these projects, they pose a problem. So what are we going to actually do from this project? What is going to be the outcome? So they start thinking. It is very important at this time to develop the cognitive skills, which again, they get enhanced in later life. Coming to the sensomotor skills, the fine motor and the gross motor development, I have already talked about the fine motor skills, and talking about the larger muscles, which is the gross motor, which are used for our activities, which involves the entire body. So children need to, from the early ages, they need to be physically very, very, agile. And I have seen children who, after they join a preschool, they start playing around, they start actually jumping and balancing themselves and doing different activities, climbing up a ladder, and these kind of actually helps them grow. So the fine motors and gross motors around when children are young, when we were younger, we used to grow at that time. And a child who is like 5, 6, they start growing so fast. Even they get they when we buy clothes and stuff, we all get run out of stuff because they're growing so fast. And this is a time where they need to be exposed to lot of outdoor activities, lot of physical play which involves physical activities, so that they grow to the maximum. And then coming to socio emotional and personality development, we talk about EQ. When we are talking about cognition and stuff, we talk about the IQ, but the EQ, emotional quotient, how a child is able to manage emotion, handle emotions, the resilience and the coping skills. We've been talking about resilience and coping skills, and uh, and it is so important now. When at the time of the pandemic, we have seen children were faced with so much of the distress because they were not able to go to school, they were not able to go out of their houses, but they coped. So these coping skills, how they can attune themselves to change, which is very important. Again, here I talk about independence, development of independence, time management, decision making. All these things, they need to be developed around this time, so that when the child grows up, they have good peer skills, they have good social emotional skills, they are able to handle emotions, they are able to handle anger. So these kind of skills are developed around this time, and which keeps developing as the child grows. So now coming to what is ECE and its purpose. So early childhood education is basically for children between the age 2 to 5 years, and it is commonly referred to, generally we call these centers preschools or pre-KG or nursery schools, play school, which is a very common a word in India. So despite these different names that they have, the purpose is the same: to prepare child for elementary school and for their life. So giving children the right start helps in putting them on the right track for the future. And what if we come to the purpose of early childhood education? It is very similar to training program given to young children. During class, children will gain the social, emotional, physical, language, cognitive development needed in order to help them have a brighter future. If done in the right manner, early childhood education can help in developing a lifelong love for learning in children. So here there's a quote from UNESCO that I would like to read. Early childhood care and education is more than preparing for primary school. It aims at the holistic development of a child's social, emotional, cognitive, and physical needs in order to build a solid and broad foundation for lifelong learning and well-being. ECCE has the possibility to nurture caring, capable, and responsible future citizens. Moving on to the next slide. Here I've come to this very, very important, thing in a in a child's life. Basically, we call it the golden triangle. Uh, this is a pyramid, and the student or the child is at the top of this pyramid, while the school, which implies also the educators or the facilitators and the parents, as the part of of an equilateral triangle, where they all have a part to play in the child's life for the child's development. So when we talk about the golden triangle, I came across this very wonderful quote which says that a child is like a seed the parent and the teacher nourish together to transform into a beautiful tree. Without the meaningful engagement of these two agents, the holistic growth of a child is impossible. Over the years, the relationship between the child, the parent, and the teacher has undergone many changes. Amidst this transformation, what is the importance of this sacred bond? Now, there are lot of deliberations that happened in context of this golden triangle. So, like I already said, the school, which also implies the teacher, the parent, and the student, are the three integral parts of this triangle. And if we look at, the days gone by in the Indian education system, we used to have the gurukuls, and in this gurukul, the children, the parents used to, after raising their children to a certain age, they used to leave the children in the gurukul with the teachers, with the gurus, in fact, with a complete trust on the guru that the guru would do the best for the child. So this is a trust which was unbreakable. And even the sons, the prince used to come to the Gurukul and stay with the guru, do whatever he used to teach, even go out begging, but with complete trust. The parents used to send, because they knew that the guru is going to do something which is good for the child. So this is very vital, because these three parties, I've referred to the Gurukul because now there is definitely a change in how we think. The system has changed, but again, everybody is trying to reach the best, the maximum of this golden triangle, because we have to see one thing, that the power should not be sliding to either of these two very important aspects of the golden triangle, which is the parent or the teacher, because it might be used in the wrong manner. So what is very important in this golden triangle is we need to understand that the child is our top priority. So whatever we do with with the understanding that the child, it is for the betterment of the child. So while we say that that the parents pay for the child's education, we can say that the teacher translates this money into knowledge. So it can be said that sometimes somebody may say that the knowledge can be imparted even by the parent in a home-based education. But the question is, how many parents have the luxury or the aptitude to actually play the role of an academic teacher in the child's life? Because parents are already juggling, they are already doing, they are into earning for the house, they're running their house, they are homemakers. So they're already involved in a lot of things. So here, they, in order to realize the best potential for the child, the parent need to depend on the teacher who is going to guide the child, and who is going to actually work for the child together with the parent, not alone, together with the parent. So here, both the factors play a very, very important role. And in order for the children to learn, first he or she needs to have the trust in the teacher. So the parent, I feel, has to be very, very respectful of the institution and the teachers who are there in the institution. Because if the child hears something that is not good for the child, good that is not good about the teacher, the child will never learn from the teacher. So it is very, very important that parents understand what the teacher is doing. And also, on the other hand, the teacher too must understand the parents' emotion and always encourage them to engage themselves with the school activities. There should be a lot of PIPs, the parent involvement programs, and all in the schools, at least for children in the early years, because this is what they need to do together. So here I got in the golden triangle just to tell a little more about how this early childhood education is not completely based on what the teacher is teaching the child in the school, but it has a huge role to play, because because the parents are major stakeholders here, and the teacher and the parent needs to actually collaborate for the child's development. So after this, I would be moving on to the impact of ECE. This is a small pie on the impact study of early childhood education use and child outcomes up to the age 4. So this is very evident that, benefits of early childhood education. Children who goes to nurseries, playgroups, etc., they have more improved nonverbal skills, improved pro-social behavior, improved behavioral self-regulation, and reduced peer problems. And children who are raised with their family, they're staying with their guardian, guardians and all of that, they have improved language skills. And children who are left with childminders, be it a caretaker, or be it somebody who is looking after the child who is not from the family, these children show reduced emotional symptoms. Now, coming to the last part of the presentation, which is the benefits of early childhood education. So when we are looking at early childhood education here, I would want to say that, children are, before we move on to the benefits, I would say children are like wet cement. This is a very common saying. Uh, they are like wet cement, whatever falls on them uh, makes an impression. So in the early years, if a child is exposed to the right kind of environment, the right kind of, family support, the right kind of school, preschool that they are going to, a very, very congenial or enriched environment where all the activities that are required for their growth is accessed, a child will definitely grow up to be an individual who is a lot more successful in later life. So when we come to these benefits of early childhood education, one of the benefit is socialization. Uh, we are humans and we are social beings, and the concept of socialization actually takes root in early childhood because we all know that children are egocentric. When they first, come out of their comfort zone, they're at home, and when they walk out of their home, and they first cross that gate of the school, uh, they actually get more conscious and they are out of their comfort zone. And because they're egocentric, they start to, kind of behave in a way which may not be very, very social. So here, when they first come and they meet their teachers, when they meet their fellow, peers, they start to develop a relationship. They start to actually kind of socialize, work together, start to understand that, okay, there are others in the space, so I need to wait for my turn, and different aspects, so they learn peer relationship in this early years. So this is such an important age where they start socializing and they start making friends, and this helps to develop self-confidence in children, because it kind of, eliminates their shy nature or their egocentric nature also. So coming to the next benefit is cooperation. Children learn to work cooperatively. In preschools, we often give activities where they work in teams. They do projects together. They come up with, uh, different activities. Like in Tender Petals, we often have these team activities where they make trees and tree with hand fingerprints or handprint, and they're so excited, they just wait for their turn and they put on their handprint, and even on the next day when they come back to school, they see that that print hanging, they just show, this is my handprint, say this is yours, we made this tree. So this is how the cooperation, the skill of cooperating with each other develops from the early years. They start to actually work as a team. Then there's holistic development. Like I already said, the different skill sets are kind of, uh, uh, developed in the early years through these programs that we do, through the different activities that we have. Children go for field trips, children have a lot of art and craft activity, they have their definitely have the academic curriculum, but a lot of extracurriculars where they get a scope to develop in every way, in every sense of the term. It's not only about developing your brain, it's developing the entire body, the entire human. So this is the time where there's a lot of emotional, social, mental, physical development, and this is the right time for actually children to have the right exposure, because children who are who come to the hands of very well trained educators or facilitators actually get the scope to develop holistically and to also understand their different skill sets. Another benefit is enthusiasm for lifelong learning. Yes, in preschools, we are always full of fun and activities and celebrations and getting everybody together. So this learning, when we do a playway kind of a learning, children actually learn through play, and they're so excited and they're so filled with wonder that they don't even realize that they're learning something. It's just a process. They just grow with it. And that actually enables a child to have this love of learning, have this love, we have this library time where teachers read out from storybooks, and they have the storytelling sessions. So children learn a lot from the stories, and they start showing different expressions, doing role plays. So they actually learn through the entire process, yet it is not like learning per se. It's not like, you sit for an examination and you get scared. It's about learning. And then that love for learning stays on for their whole life. The value of education. The new environment in preschool gives children an entirely different perspective on the requirement of education. Grasping knowledge and applying them to their lives demonstrate the value of education. Another aspect, another benefit of early childhood education is respect. The environment in preschool helps children learn to become more civil. Like I already said, the peer skills, how to, manage emotions, how to handle stress, how to actually, handle your tantrums. They start doing how to sharing, caring, empathy, because we see so many times where when children first come to school, they do not want to share, and as they stay on, they are with their friends, they even start sharing the food that they get. It's so sweet of them, so they start developing that respect. They start understanding empathy. They try to understand each other's feeling. So this is again a very important aspect. And teamwork, which I already talked about, they all work in teams, and definitely teamwork is something which is very essential, because we can't, as an individual, we don't, even though we multitask, we always need to collaborate. So when we collaborate, collaboration is basically teamwork. So when they're doing small activity in collaboration, that actually, in the that's a stepping stone for collaboration in the longer time. Negotiation, we talk about negotiation, we talk about conflict management, or conflict resolution. So children fight, and we often see, that they fight and then they just forget about it. So they resolve conflict, and now we are thinking of conflict resolution in terms of the global scenario. So if children are, they start to work in teams, they start to understand negotiation, they start to resolve conflict, how can we can really envision a world where everybody works, in collaboration and in a concerted way. Concentration, another important thing, aspect is development of concentration, because in preschools we go about whatever activities, whatever play, whatever things we do with the children, it's in a structured manner. So when there is a structured way of doing things, the level of concentration also increases. And this and again, there is a lot of repetition in the activities we do. Again, that repetition is very helpful in enhancing concentration. Coming to resilience. Now, we already talked about the changes in the that keeps happening in our lives, and change is the most constant thing in our lives. So children, when they come out of the comfort zone, the first change that they feel is, okay, I'm not with my mother. And then they start coping with that change, they start understanding that environment, they start getting, and they start actually integrating to it. So even when COVID came in, we had seen that children were actually faced with a lot of challenges at that point of time, but they have the resilience, they have the coping skills to actually deal with it. So when they come to preschools, the change in environment, the meeting with different people, interacting, going out for field trips, doing a lot of other activities actually enable them to grow their resilience skill. And then confidence and self-esteem. Definitely there's a lot of growth in confidence, because self-esteem is built up in the early years. So we always when we train our teachers, when we train our educators, we talk to them that always boost the child's confidence. Never kind of tell anything that would actually bring down their morale. So the activities that are done in the preschool, even if a child is not able to cope, there is always a teacher at the back of their, of them, who would say that next time you're going to do it, you will be able to do it. So that is how their confidence and self-esteem in life, it develops, because they have that backing, they have the support that, okay, now today I may not be able to do it, but again I'll be able to do it. So there are a lot of things, and even when they are successfully going from one activity to the next, that is a huge boost in their confidence and self-esteem. And then we already talked a lot about the brain development, and brain development around this time. happens, and that I have already elaborated, so I'll not get more into it. Uh, then exposure to diversity, besides the many more benefits that early childhood education has. Now, when we talk about exposure to diversity, uh, every a preschool or every early childhood center has a lot of people coming in from different places, different culture, and they all come together. And then even in these activities, we have these celebrations, we do all these a celebration of events and festivals. All of that expose the child to a different to diversity, basically, and this enables to help them grow into global citizens. When we are talking about diversity, we need to know our culture, we need to know our roots, but we also need to know the culture of other places, what is happening, what are the different languages. So right here, right at the start, the preschoolers, they come and they actually get exposed to different things, different cultures, different kind of food. So they definitely broaden their perspective. That actually helps them in broadening their perspective, and this is again very vital. It's very important. It's a big plus in the early childhood education. So basically, I've come to the end of this presentation. Why is early childhood education important? And here I would like to say that each new word, each new experience that a child has can mold a child into the person they are going to grow up to become. So this is because uh, at the early childhood years, the impression that they have, all the experience that they have, actually kind of solidifies into how it goes in the longer run, in how the child actually starts to perceive the environment, perceive the world around them. So it's very, very important that the child should be exposed to a very, very positive environment in the early years. And most parents understand this, and they give early childhood education the importance that is due. And recent studies reveal the importance of early childhood education, as it can influence mental, emotional, physical, cognitive development of the child. And therefore, it is of a lot of need that quality of education of young children should be really, really good. So I would always say that, the kind of exposure the child is having should be really good. We should not compromise on early childhood education. We should not compromise on, what the child is uh, actually, the potential that is there in these, schools where the child goes and they start to actually explore. So always make sure that they start off early, and so it doesn't become a problem in the future. So I conclude my presentation here, and I would request Indrani to let me know if there are any questions. So I'll just wait for her.
As of now, ma'am, there are no questions as I have seen.
Okay. So will I think we can wind this session, and I thank everyone for joining me today, and see you again soon with another yet another session on early childhood care and education. And until then, I bid adieu, goodbye, and this is Dr. Vasavi Acharya signing off. Thank you so much for joining me today.